Can we pause for just one
Yeah,
second?
yeah, definitely.
My
Yeah.
2-year-old is shouting, "Can you help me?" He's probably on top of the fridge or something. So I'll be right back in 30 seconds.
What job should marketing get done in a company?
Marketing's job at its core is understanding the market that the company's trying to reach and what the company is trying to provide to that market, and matching up the needs of the market with what the company provides. So that's, to me, that's the core of marketing. You're breaking it down from promotion or being building assets or supporting sales, is really to drive that connection to where, if you don't have marketing doing that, you have a hobby or you have an idea, but marketing really ties the market to what the company's doing.
I like that. I've yet to hear someone use market or use that definition or frame for it, but I heard someone say that the chief marketing officer, that market is a key piece of that title, which you bring in there of just the fact of understanding the market, which you could then take that to understanding the people within the market and what they need and such. So why do you start with the market, or is maybe that not the best place to start?
I start with the market really, I think, because of my influences, my marketing influences really coming from, like, I didn't go to school for marketing. I learned marketing on the fly on my own. And so the places that I learned marketing, I've got a little
We love it. We
say
love
hi.
it.
Okay. Um, the places that I learned marketing was from other marketers, but also from, more broadly, from people who didn't necessarily have a marketing title, but who understood how to do marketing, how to take a company or a product and bring it to market. And then, of course, people like Seth Godin, who were able to provide more of a core fundamentals understanding of marketing. And that's why, for me, marketing, like, a lot of times I think that the term gets used to mean something like promotion or something like that. Like, it's our way to tell stories. Or one of my friends frequently like to say, like, marketing was sales at scale. And I fundamentally disagree with that, because I think that it narrows marketing down to just the promotional aspect, which is part of marketing. But if you study great marketers, they know not only how to promote something, but also how to take feedback from the market and change the product or service, how to actually be influential in the rest of the business to create something that matches up with that. And so, to me, that's where marketing really, the understanding of marketing as being connected to the market and really being more of a strategist than a promotional person. That's where that comes in.
I do enjoy that kind of pulling away from just purely promotions, because when you do think about, like, let's market this product or whatever, it's always like, how do we kind of shout out our story or whichever. Do you find, I guess maybe the question better than to presume, what are some of the qualities or skills that allow people to kind of talk to or figure out what the market needs, or to kind of, curiosity comes to my mind, but what else is like needed to be able to do that different form of marketing that you're kind of talking about?
There's like the big, kind of the big picture, terms of things like curiosity and empathy, that can allow you to understand the market. But when it comes down to it, those things also have to break down into practical abilities as well. Like, I know lots of people who like to, or feel like they're empathetic. Like, I can feel what my customer feels. I can put myself in their shoes. But it really comes down to not just being able to imagine what someone else thinks, but actually to be able to extract it from the market, right? Because I can feel like I'm empathetic, like I feel how Jordan's feeling right now. But if I'm able to actually get you to tell me what you're feeling, then it's no longer an exercise, which I've experienced frequently in marketing, is that marketing tends to be an exercise in prediction and like emotional, sort of like projection. It's like the market feels this way because we're really close to the market and we feel like that's what it is. But when we're able to go to the market with practical skills of interviewing and also, like, strategically, like, being able to ask the right questions to the people that we talk to, our customers, our prospects, just the market more broadly, the questions that get to those cores of what job do they have to be done, what problems are they facing, what pains are interrupting their day or making it so they don't sleep well at night. When we can get the picture of those, we can actually extract from the market what they want and be able to provide things that they can't even voice, but that they know they want once they get their hands on them.
I like that you kind of jump to practicality, right? Using interviews, using those to figure, because to your point, having curiosity or empathy is good in a sense, but you need to be able to deploy that. I've heard curiosity described or defined as suspending judgment, because something that is instantly, as you're talking about predictions or whichever, it's almost like you could do these interviews, but if you're trying to find information to prove your point, it's almost like you need to just have this empty slate approach to it where it's like I might have my opinions or assumptions, hypotheses, but we need to like fully allow whatever is being told to us to lead our marketing. Or what are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. That's exactly the case. It's very easy, especially when marketing, is serving as a function of a larger business, and the larger business has goals, and the leadership, your higher ups, have their own goals. And so the top down approach says, leadership says to marketing, here's what we want. We want the market to think this way. We want them to buy these things at this frequency. That's your goal. Go get it done. And when we approach it that way, or even if we're, a business owner or founder, if we're doing our own marketing, we can come at it with that approach and be like, here's what I want from the market. Now let's go and make it happen. Like, just get your hands on them and make them buy. And that's like, that approach is very difficult and potentially won't work. Like you can't go and just change the market to make it want the thing that you want. And so, people won't believe that, but because people haven't been believing that forever, but you get to see that. And I've got to see that in real time, watching companies and watching people who thought that they had the solution the market needed and going and trying to convince the market and then just beating their head against a wall. And so yeah, that's at its core. It's about more than just having an answer and then going and trying to validate the answer and like try to convince you to tell me the thing I want you to say, and more about saying, being curious and being curious enough to say, I might not be right and I might have the wrong assumptions and the wrong answers. Let's see if I can go and find out what the real true answers are.
Yeah, it's going from this place of maybe overconfidence or just being overtly confident to maybe this humble approach. And I like to think of it as a scientist. They live in this world of falsifying at its core. Like we want to falsify to move forward versus the opposite of like we're trying to make sure we don't find false things so we can do what we want to do anyway. It's this total different mindset that I really think the best marketers and the best marketing teams embody. Great marketers think like business strategists. They aim to understand the market and then position their products to best serve and help that market progress, as Isaac states in this interview. They focus on the higher aims of marketing and less on the lower aims or efficiency, deliverables, doing things that matter. Isaac Holmgren is one of those wise marketers who gets it. In the rest of this episode, he continues to give a master class on marketing strategy. First, who is Isaac? Isaac got his start, surprisingly, in graphic design and account management at Clearsight Studio for 2+ years. Then moved on to marketing manager and marketing director roles. And then in 2018, he founded Labtorio, hopefully I said that correctly, and has been crushing it ever since. Labtorio helps construction and home service companies make sense of their marketing and make wise marketing decisions. I don't think there's a better person to help companies do that than Isaac. Before we get into the rest of the episode, run the intro. Welcome to Season 3 of On Marketing, a show where we explore what marketing is, like really is. I won't tell you what to think about marketing, I'll help you improve how you think about marketing. It's February 9th, 2024. I'm Jordan Ogren, a marketing strategist by day and a podcast host by night. Before we get into the episode, make sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get new episodes, extra insights, and the occasional photo of my cat. It's fittingly called a newsletter on marketing. The link to join is in the first line of the show notes. Finally, opinions shared in this podcast are the individual views of the hosts and guests not those of their employers or associated organizations. This content is intended for informational purposes and should not be considered professional marketing guidance. Listeners act on the information provided at their own risk. I hate that I have to do that, but thank you for being here. What is something, Isaac, that you've in marketing just in the past 1, 2, 3 years, you've changed your mind on? And we probably touched on maybe a few things already, but what's something that comes to your mind of like, I believed this, but today, because of X, Y, or Z, I believe something totally or just slightly different?
There's a couple, but I think the biggest one that I try to share as broadly as I can is just that um, as I get to connect with more marketers in different types of companies and on different teams and at different seniority levels and different levels of experience, I've found that and changed my mind on one thing is that coming from a background where I didn't go to school, I don't have a degree for marketing. A lot of my marketing time was spent as a solo marketer at a company. Like, companies would, so it was small companies, and they would say, we need marketing and we don't know what that means, can you help? That kind of thing. So my experience, so I developed sort of an inferiority complex of assuming that the things that I'd learned and the amount of knowledge that I had must be super limited, and there must be people out there somewhere that have the marketing secrets that I don't have. And that, like, maybe I've learned this much stuff, but there's got to be people who have the secrets, who are like, they've spent time at big companies, or they've gone through a fast growing startup, and therefore like they can reveal the world of marketing to me. And I will say, every time that I talk with new marketers, I learn new things. There's so much to learn. So it's not that I have all the answers, but what I've found as we move up to bigger companies or up the chain in seniority or experience is that level of like marketing secrets isn't there. And instead, what I find is people who have maybe a clearer understanding of concepts, or more specialty, right? They're more focused. Somebody who's spent enough time to really understand how to run Facebook ads, or how to build a remarketing campaign that's going to work really well, or how to do customer interviews really well. But a lot of times, what I find is that those specialties don't translate into broader knowledge overall, which is good. I mean, it's fine. But also, even people who are running, CMOs or running marketing teams, they don't necessarily have 10 times the marketing knowledge that you do. They just have the set of skills that allows them to run a marketing team. And so that's given me confidence to go into those conversations and helped me as a marketer who felt like, man, somebody out there has the secret. Like, I'm playing in this realm, and there's got to be somewhere else where I can go, and maybe there I'll learn how to really be a marketer. And what I found instead is that those people who I thought were going to tell me what it means to be a real marketer are just saying like, we just have to try something new, right? We have to learn to experiment and test and find out what the market wants. And you learn from those experiences, and you can then say, oh, I know this doesn't work because we tried that. But there isn't like that vast, vault of marketing knowledge that you can unlock somewhere because you worked at Google or you were at a fast growing startup or something.
I really like that point, Isaac. And I think it's important to your point of gaining confidence in yourself at times where it's just so much to learn in marketing, or there's just always that extra step. I really think I was in band or jazz in like 8th and 9th grade, and I really think there is no sheet music, that the best players, they just know how to play well enough that they can come in, come out, or whichever, because every company, every market is so different, that there's no like,
as a self-taught musician, I learned to play piano and guitar very young, which is a huge advantage if you're a musician, because you have lots of time on your hands. But that's huge. With a major unlock as a musician is getting to the point where you realize that you don't need better sheet music. You need to understand the fundamentals of music better, and then the sheet music doesn't matter. Sometimes the notes don't even matter. And you can be playing notes that are considered wrong, or that don't match with what people expect, but it can sound good if you understand fundamentals. So I love that analogy.
Thank you. I use probably too many analogies and metaphors, so I'm always nervous if they'll resonate or not. But I really like that because it really drills down at the point of this podcast now on season 3. The goal is really to kind of improve how you think about marketing. I'm never giving people this is what to think, this is exactly how you, but it's improving just the ability or capacity to think in every situation that you're in. So you're just better off no matter where you land. To jump into a few things that I really want to learn from you, you've talked about whether on LinkedIn or just in maybe our direct messages that marketers should change and kind of transform the company. Let's take a step back. What do most marketers do instead of that? Like, are they just checking boxes, or what have you seen, or what's been your experience?
Yeah, my experience is that marketing as a discipline, there we go. Marketing as a discipline is broadly viewed as we talked earlier, as the thing that you add on to a good product to sell it to the market, to bring it to market. And that sort of bolt-on mentality means that marketers are brought in at the end. Like once you have the thing that you believe is the right thing for the market, and you say, okay, we've built this product, it's perfect. All we need is for you to go find the people who want to buy it and get them to buy it. Ultimately, I mean, that for one thing, that really is a sales role, and that's where the sales at scale concept comes in, right? People believe that, like, as a founder especially, I'm doing sales and I'm able to sell something, but I can't scale it myself, and it's expensive to hire other salespeople. What if we brought in a marketer, because they could show it to 1,000 people a day, and they should be able to do that for no money on no budget. And so like the goal is just like, how can we get more customers really cheap? And that's not how great marketing works. The point that you alluded to that I like to make is that a marketer should be fundamentally involved in the business itself. The greatest marketers are really business strategists. They're able to say, this is the model of the business as it is, but here's how we would change the business, the product that we're offering, the service, our customer service, our pricing, our positioning. We can change it in order to better address what the market wants. And when we make that change, it not only changes what the market sees, but it actually changes what they get. Because what marketing also has the unfortunate circumstance of being viewed as the acquisition channel, right? Like we want to get new customers in the door. But the fact is that your marketing sets the stage for what happens once people agree to buy. And it sets the stage for their expectations for the company. And it sets the stage and really sets you up for either a long-term relationship or many repeat purchases, or disappointment and poor reviews and churn. That part of marketing, the understanding that it's not just about getting money out of somebody's wallet, but about setting up the relationship so that it lasts for a long time and they get what they expected and more. That part of marketing requires that understanding that you can't just slap a sticker on it or a new coat of paint on it and then now you're good to go. You need to be able to properly set up those expectations so that people not only buy, but are happy with what they bought.
Wow, that was a lot there, Isaac, and so much nuggets, because I think that business strategist kind of concept that you brought in, I've never really formulated it in that. Maybe just I've left it as like a strategist kind of thought process is really effective. And I really enjoy that because, again, it just gets you in more of this changing the company, or how do we kind of do things differently. And a thought that came in as you're talking in a book, or I kind of got 5 or so years ago, this growth hacking. And it was kind of, oh, that's cool, let's hack, let's do that. But really it starts to your point, if you hack someone, you might just destroy all future revenue possibilities. And I think Seth Godin, it might be different, but he talks about hacks, like he hates hacks because that's just not good. And that's resonated with me. So I really like that, and tying to like the opposite could be trying to just growth hack at all costs, which then destroys future growth potential.
Growth marketing is fantastic, and it does to some extent in the right forms. Startups will bring in someone as a head of growth, and their focus often is working with the product team and really cross-functionally making changes that allow for growth. And so when done right, it's very effective. But if it's done as a hack, if it's a, hey, like, where's the shortcut that we can take, then you can miss important things. And again, it's not about being able to get money. It's about being, out of the wallet one time. It's about how do we do this sustainably? Because winning this month doesn't matter if you lose next month.
Well said, well said. Another thing that I want to kind of talk about is sometimes marketers, and I've been in this myself early on, and even it's just a constant thing that creeps in, is kind of focusing on doing a lot of things, being efficient, getting things out the door or whichever, rather than taking that step back to be like, what is the most effective action or tactic or thing we can do? So what have you done, or what have you seen help marketers kind of prioritize kind of doing things at work versus just doing things?
This one's a favorite of mine. Being effective as a marketer and being efficient often don't line up at all. The most, I've seen very efficient marketing teams that can churn out high volumes of work very productively that aren't effective. And I've seen the opposite. I've seen very effective marketers who are intentionally not efficient. They, they do things the slow way. They leave room for new ideas and new things to come in. That's the part of this effectiveness and efficiency thing is understanding that your job as a marketer isn't, you don't get paid by deliverables. The company doesn't succeed by the number of deliverables that you produce. And so whether or not you can produce 6 or 8 blog posts or 12 or 15 or 1,000 blog posts now, thanks to AI, pumping out high volume does not make the marketing more effective. And in some cases, it can really put you backwards very quickly. And then the other part of it is that not only do you not get benefit just by increasing your volume of deliverables, but you also can put yourself backwards by fracturing your focus and creating marketing debt, essentially, where you've got a small marketing team, and now you're marketing to a dozen or 2 dozen or 50 or 100 different target customers in different industries, and you create this massive workload of maintenance, essentially, where now you've acquiring customers from different areas, and now you want to figure out, basically, when you go to figure out, well, what marketing worked and where can we reinvest, the answer usually is, well, we don't know, and reinvest everywhere. And so it just becomes it's a really like a trap that a lot of marketing teams get into, it seems like, where we push up the productivity to pump out more work, and in doing so, we actually create a situation where we set ourselves up to lose and make it much harder to correct course, because we've focused on efficiency and we don't know if it's effective or not.
I think sometimes more isn't always more, and sometimes less is more, obviously, as the cliche saying. Something I was talking with a friend recently was this concept that a lot of good things are inefficient. If you think about marriage, marrying one person and only vowing to sleep with them, it's very inefficient if you think about it. There's a lot of challenges, but again, though, that love and having children is very inefficient to your professional or whatever, but it isn't in the end, because you gain things, you learn. So I really like that you bring up that there's kind of these paradoxes or ironies in the fact that when you actually let go and do the inefficient, the unscalable, quote unquote, you do better marketing in the end.
Yeah, and that is huge, and I love that. I've kind of, in fact, right this week, my wife is out of town, and I'm a single dad for a week, and it resonates with me in some ways. In some ways, life is more streamlined when there's only one person to make decisions, right? And so it's not. I was actually thinking about that this week. Is that like, and it's the same thing with a team, growing a marketing team, or building an effective marketing organization, or plan a strategy. It isn't always about like, what can we do the most of, or how can we make this as streamlined as possible. It's about what's going to be effective, what's going to work, and by work I mean like what's going to accomplish the mission, right? What's going to bring, what's going to serve the purpose of the organization and the market and the people that we're seeking to serve, as Seth Godin says. If we get focused on those things, on purpose and on core concepts and the core that builds on why we're doing this, then things that look very inefficient and seem like a distraction, things like spending time one-on-one with customers, or doing site visits and visiting customers, building those relationships, those things can seem like distractions if your eye is on how do we make the most money with the least amount of work. But when you understand the purpose of what we're trying to do, then investing in those things becomes very clear that this is what we should be doing, as opposed to this is distracting us from efficiency.
Bringing in back in Seth Godin, he might as well sponsor this episode, but he talks a lot about the minimal viable audience. And you were talking earlier about how when you keep expanding your audiences or trying to serve 100 different, that's a really kind of like defining that minimal viable audience. Who are those that we're worth doing the unscalable or the inefficiencies with, because it will pay off down the road, or we'll gain insights on the product or whatever through these people. Yeah, that's important. And the mission and the purpose, as you kind of just touched on. I like that. All right, Isaac, now is the part of the show where we kind of remove the marketing coat, we kind of get a little cozy, and we jump into a little bit of life. I think some of the best marketers I know and I've experienced or interacted with, they have really great thoughts about life, and that's something that I think is just intertwined with marketing. So I want to jump into my first question. One of my favorite ones, it started in season 1, still here season 3. There's this movie called Inception. Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. They go into people's minds, incept ideas, usually for not good intentions, but then the next day that person wakes up and that idea is their own and they act out of it. So if you could incept an idea in the minds of every human, every marketer, so tomorrow we wake up and we believe that to be our own and we act out of it, what idea do you incept?
That is a deep question. I would say the idea of playing the long game, of doing things today without the expectation of winning today.
What is a habit or a practice you do outside of marketing, outside of business, that when you just come back to it, you can do your marketing, your business activities better?
Yeah, this answer is easy. Taking naps. Taking naps is my favorite thing to do, but it's also just broadly like stepping away from what you're doing, resetting. A reset might look different for you. For me, a nap is a perfect reset. I wake up from a nap, all of the mental accumulation from the day is gone. It's reset, and I maybe even have come up with ideas or solutions when I take a nap. Like it just like yeah, it's just a way for me to reset, and I can take naps very quickly. I like a quick power nap. So, but that's a break and a reset might look different for someone else, but for me, that kind of incorporating that kind of thing in, which can be difficult. I remember actually at one point I was working in a role where I didn't have much flexibility. I was working in an office, and I would take my lunch and take a 30-minute lunch and sit in the car, and I'd set a timer on my phone and I'd take a nap in the car. These days I have the flexibility that I can do that, but those kind of things break up that accumulation. Like I said earlier, when we start the day and we start taking on stress and bringing in information and trying to solve problems, and that stuff can build and build. And I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but for me, for sure, I can build and build, and all of a sudden I've got 12 different projects in my mind and a set of problems that I don't have solutions to, and 15 people I was supposed to reach out to yesterday and that I missed, and all of that stuff builds up, and it starts to make it so it starts to affect your productivity, where your brain is getting distracted and brought into different things, and having an opportunity to step away, reset, and come back to it with a fresh approach. To me, that's super valuable.
Have not heard naps yet as an answer, but I totally understand and get what you're saying. I think of what you're talking about is like you have a backpack, and through the day you're getting so many rocks in that backpack. Sooner or later, if you don't stop to unload them, and to your point, whatever way works, meditation for me and nap for
Yeah,
you, you're going to
yeah,
not do whatever you're trying to do. You're going to be slower in it. I
exactly.
really like that. All right, final question. You can answer this in a word or a few. With everything changing with AI, what is one thing you hope doesn't change or stays the same in the next 10, 15 years as humans or as marketers?
I don't hope that things don't change. There are things that I'm confident won't change, and then there's the rest of things. Change is inevitable. And at this point in my life, I accept change as the inevitability that I face every day and that we face every day as people. And I think that embracing that and living with it, and not trying to, not trying to keep it from changing, but instead understanding that tomorrow and next week and 10 to 15 years from now, things will be different that I can't predict. But then there are things that I can learn to rely on that might be, humans and how we work, and the people that we know and trust. And those are the things that I hope don't change. I hope that, and I am confident that people will be the same in 10 to 15 years, and that understanding them and caring about them is what's going to matter then.
That's a perfect answer and a great way to close out this show. As you got tons of kids around you. This is great. I love it. It's real. It's real. Thank you, Isaac, for coming on. I really appreciate the time, friend.
Thank you too.
And this is the end of the podcast. Thank you for making it this far, because few do. So, to repay you for the time you spent listening to me, my guest, I have an offer. I have a deal for you. If you click the first line in the show notes and sign up for just let me know whether LinkedIn DMs or email jordano@hey.com, I will give you 60 minutes of free marketing help, whether that be guidance on your messaging, positioning, or your content strategy, or even helping you write a landing page for a new product or service you have coming. Sign up for it. Let me know you did. In 60 minutes, I am all yours. That sounded a lot better when I wrote it, but anyways, you get the gist. I really appreciate you being on this journey with me to uncover what truly is marketing and how do we apply it today. I hope to see you back here next week for a new episode, and stay thinking differently.